I've got this excellent video from a channel, A Plain Truth 5. I'll put the link to his channel in the description. I'm going to play the whole video. It goes for 8 minutes. And if you haven't had a test for this COVID, guarantee you won't be having it after you watch this. Some parts of it are very hard to watch, very cringe-worthy. I'm going to stop it and make a few comments just about halfway through. But so here goes. What it's all about virtually is how they can put a vaccine up your nostrils.
Is an intranasal vaccine. Properly restraining the animal's head and neck is key to successful administration. For larger cattle, it is important that the animal is first properly restrained in a head gate or chute. Use the cannula or puppet device to give the animal 2 milliliters of Enforce 3 in a single nostril. Be sure to use a new cannula for each animal to prevent the spread of pathogens. Make sure to grasp the cannula only by the collar when removing. On the puppet device, use a clean paper towel to wipe the tip clean between calves. Young calves may be too small for a typical head gate in the chute. In this case, you may need to restrain the calf by hand or on the ground and administer the vaccination with a small syringe and cannula. Make sure not to extend the calf's head and neck upward, as this opens the windpipe, increasing the chance of fluid going into the calf's lungs. Always consult with your veterinarian if you have questions on proper administration of vaccines. And that's how you...
So there you can see how they're injecting through the nose the sterile diluent into the cattle that administers the vaccine. And now let's see what they're sticking up the noses of everyone for these stupid tests.
This video describes collection for detection of COVID-19. There are no specific contraindications for collecting specimens with nasopharyngeal swabs. However, clinicians should be cautious if the patient has had recent nasal trauma or surgery, has a history of a markedly deviated nasal septum, chronically blocked nasal passages, or severe coagulopathy. Nasopharyngeal swabs are specifically manufactured to have long, flexible shafts made of plastic or metal and tips made of Dacron, rayon, or flocked nylon. It is essential to put on personal protective equipment, or PPE, correctly, and to follow the pertinent respiratory and contact precautions according to both the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, and by your institution.
I'll just stop it there. Have you ever known any testing for all this shit to go through? Ever? Never. What I'm going to point out, this guy is putting this on. He's going to do the test, and you're going to see how he takes it off. And for the next person, he's going to put another one on. Do we see this at the drive-in testing stations? No. They do not change their clothing at all. They do not, I don't know, I don't think they even change their mask or gloves for each person. But definitely, they're not taking off their, whatever you want to call it, protective robe. So this is what's supposed to happen. So if you go through one of these drive-in ones, you're fucking kidding yourself. But anyway.
If possible, you should put on and take off PPE in the presence of an observer to make sure that there are no breaks in technique that may pose a risk of contamination. First, put on a protective gown and wash your hands with soap and water, or use an alcohol-based solution. And put on a pair of non-sterile gloves, followed by a protective mask with a rating of N95 or higher, as recommended by the CDC. Finally, put on a face shield for eye protection.
Now, all of this is just to administer the test? Why? What's in the test?
This is a warning. It's pretty cringy, so I'm warning you now.
COVID-19. Have the patient take off the mask and blow the nose into a tissue to clear excess secretions from the nasal passages. Remove the swab from the pathogen. Tilt the patient's head back slightly so that the nasal passages become more accessible. Ask the patient to close her eyes to lessen the mild discomfort.
And what'd she do with the tissue just in her hands?
Insert the swab along the nasal septum, just above the floor of the nasal passage, to the nasopharynx, until resistance is felt. If you
Are you kidding? Look how far that thing goes in. By God, there's no way, no. I could cop that shit. Why would they have to put it in so far? This has never been known before. There is something going on here. This is more than a test. I guarantee that.
find resistance to the passage of the swab, back off and try reinserting it at a different angle.
Oh, what? Look how far it's gone in.
Look at how far this is going
Oh,
in
sorry.
just to get a test.
You must have heard me.
When the virus supposedly dribbling out of your nose or from your hands or from a countertop can get it,
How she's not cringing.
why do
is
they have to
beyond
stick
me.
it so far in, folks, unless there's something
Oh,
going
what?
on?
Look at this. She doesn't
Ask
budge.
the patient to reapply her mask.
And she got no feeling.
Open the collection tube and insert the swab into the tube. Break the swab at the groove. Discard what remains of the swab. Close the labeled collection tube and place it in a biohazard bag. It may also be returned to its original packaging.
Did you notice how they broke off just the end and set it in? So that's the activating agent at the end of it, folks.
And guarantee, they just throw that out. There's no testing done with that. No, they tell you it goes to a pathology. No, bullshit. No way, no. They'll just dump that somewhere. They've inserted what they wanted into her nasal passage. Job done.
Now take a look at what happens next is he's having to put on this extensive PPE protection gear and whatnot because of just the testing, of touching the testing that they may have had the virus that they contacted it.
All the CDC directions for direct processing of the swab specimen or placement of the swab in media with or without refrigeration.
Check this one out.
Remove your personal protective equipment as shown here or in accordance with the standards at your
Look
institution.
at that. He throws it in the bin.
First, remove your gown and gloves.
All because of one little
Then
test.
clean your hands with an alcohol-based solution or soap and water.
And just throwing it in the garbage can.
Just want to stop it there. See that visor thing he's wearing? They said initially that's to protect the eyes. When I saw the doctor yesterday to get my medical exemption, when I was walking out, he put that on and says, these are a good thing to wear instead of the mask if you've got breathing problems. What? They said here, this guy was wearing that to protect his eyes. And this doctor wanted me to wear that instead of a mask.
And he
Exactly that thing. That's what it was. I didn't show it in my video because I wasn't pointing the camera at him, but he said I should get one of these.
he's throwing it away. So if the virus is in the garbage,
Then remove your mask and follow your institutional guidelines for
so that means the contamination is going into our garbage?
You're right. It's going into our garbage. And are these people at the drive-ins doing that? Someone tell me, if you've been to one of those drive-ins, are they taking off every single bit for each person? I've spoken about this before. I doubt it very much.
Unbelievable.
Summary, this is all bullshit.
This video has demonstrated
Oh,
how
no.
to collect specimens
Oh,
on the surface
no.
of the respiratory
Oh,
process
what?
with nasopharyngeal swabs in order to diagnose
How
COVID-19
could she
in
not
adults
move?
and in children. As shown, it is important to use approved PPE and the appropriate technique to minimize the possibility of spreading the virus.
You know, and how much proof do you need that they're contaminated, the coronavirus is actually in the testing? Here it says the tests are contaminated with the virus. Not seeing that on Fox and CNN and the Trump dumpster talking about that, are we? No, because they don't want you to know that the actual testing contains the deadly virus, the deadly vaccine, the deadly making you sick and sicker and controlling all of you with the hydrogel. And this is from the U.S. National Laboratory of Medicine, the National Institute of Health, NCBI, This is April 2019 published, Mucosal Nose Vaccines and Technologies. There's an urgent and unmet need to develop effective vaccines to reduce the, quote, global burden of infectious disease in animals and humans, and in particular for the majority of pathogens that affect via mucosal sites. Here we surmise the impediments to developing mucosal vaccines and review the new and emerging technologies aimed at overcoming the lack of effective vaccine delivery systems that is the major obstacle to developing new mucosal vaccines. Well, I guess they figured it out. They figured it out. Remember, they were giving back sugar cubes back in 1960s for the alleged polio virus, which was really DDT, and according to the National Institute of Health, it killed 98 million people from the sugar cube vaccines. Wake up, folks. Vaccines to combat zoonoses are particularly urgent. Combat, military. What's Trump doing? He's bringing up the military to administer these vaccines. But it's the tests, folks, we got to worry about. They're putting the vaccines, these deadly vaccines, and making us sick and sicker and controlling humanity with the testing. Don't get the test. Hope this helps. Thank you, Pristine, for sharing this with me. I really appreciate it. Peace.
Great video of Plain Truth 5. Yes, that's why it's all about testing. We must get testing. Now, for them to be crying that out, there's more to it than just a test. When they've got people coming around knocking on your door, virtually forcing testing on you, there's something more to it, folks. Do not get tested. We got to push back. We got to fight back. They're just going to keep pushing until we actually push back. But no one's pushing back. We're meekly, doing what they're telling us to. We're being compliant. We're being aqueous, whatever the words are. We have to start pushing back before we're on the edge of the cliff and there ain't no pushing back anymore.